Welcome to another week of the Movie Roundtable, where you will get an honest and thought-provoking discussion about movies that are just coming out or have just been released. I'm Marcus Blake with That Nerd Show.
I'm Michelle Cooper with the Tipsyverse.
I'm Daniel Robert Durrett with Drive-By Movies.
And I'm Alex Moore with That Nerd Show.
And for our big movie of the week, we go back into the Alien franchise with Alien Covenant. And I'm just going to start out by saying, yes, this is indeed the best Alien movie in 30 years. And I'm always a little nostalgic when it comes to the... Michelle's already giving me a dirty look, and that's fine.
Let me... never mind.
Well, no, that's fine. This is a good discussion about movies. But all I'm saying is, the nostalgia in me, who really, really loves a great Bill Paxton movie, we always have to remember him, with Aliens coming out in 1986, one of James Cameron's best movies. I don't think there's been as good of an Alien movie up to this point.
Like in the genre or in this specific universe?
Are we already talking about parallel universes?
No, because in the Alienverse, because technically it is the only Alien movie that's come out in the last 30 years, right?
Well, it is, but I was referring to the fact that this is the best movie since Alien 2 or Aliens. That this is better than Alien 3, definitely better than Alien 4.
I would definitely say this is the third best Alien movie.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen Aliens, but yes, I would agree with that.
Right.
Third best.
Because, dude, Bill Paxton, you said it already. Bill Paxton and Aliens.
It's not so,
Aliens.
It's not so
that
different.
much immensely better. It was so much better per the capita of Aliens.
Right.
Like, if it was a 1-star film for the first one, then this was a 300-star film for the second Aliens movie. It was that much better than the original Aliens. This definitely was, I felt, a throwback to that original scope of Alien film. Much more suspenseful. It had a lot of... The biggest thing I had a huge problem with was this was a suspenseful Aliens film. Every trailer made this look like an action movie. And this was only barely an action movie.
See, my problem with it was that it didn't feel like a suspenseful Alien movie or an action movie or even a horror movie to me. It was like a philosophical drama about what happens when you give artificial intelligence the ability to do things. And I was like, that is not what I signed up for.
You don't like the idea of artificial intelligence running amok?
I mean, no, I like that idea if I saw that movie. Like, I liked Ex Machina, and that was the whole movie. But I didn't want to go to space to learn about artificial intelligence and their inner workings.
It really was. It's funny you said that, because I said to Gary, who I was sitting next to, I said, this was the Aliens iRobot movie.
Yes, and I just wasn't, I didn't like it. And also...
You said our robot mystery, right?
Can we just, are we spoiler free?
Yeah, a little bit. Oh no, we spoiled the shit out of last week.
Okay, cool. Because here's my main issue with Alien Covenant, whatever. The thing I loved about Alien, the movie, is it made space simultaneously insanely cool and something you want to go into, but also completely terrifying, because the aliens in that movie are what have formed far away in a planet we haven't discovered yet. So those aliens are what is in space, and it's terrifying. This movie ripped that away from me, and all of a sudden the aliens that I grew up thinking were what formed on a planet far away are actually created by an artificial intelligence that humans made. So it's like now humanity has made the aliens.
They still form through bacteria in the plant, so they just still kind of come about on their own. But now we know how. So.
Right. This isn't like that a synthetic actually made the aliens. He basically harvested the aliens that we have come to know.
Yeah, but that still is like human intervention, and it really fucked my shit up.
Human intervention by a non-human.
But it was created by humans.
It is enough to make me believe that I don't think Trump should ever be in charge of NASA, because we would end up with the same situation.
Also,
look, I'm going to take a different stance, and I thought if you look at this movie as coming full circle in the Alien franchise, like, oh, we know what happens now. Again, a synthetic running amok. I thought it was brilliant because you're dealing with someone who is trying to understand creation. He was created by someone that called him his father, okay? And you deal with that at the beginning of the movie. On top of that, you've got the great metaphor with Wagner and Valhalla, and the entering of the gods orchestra. I apologize if I got the
Entry
title.
of the Gods.
Entry
yes.
of the gods. Thank you. So for him, it's understanding his creation, but also that Frankenstein type story where our archetype, where you're dealing with the power to create something. Okay.
Which is great, but that's not what the Alien movies are about.
Nope.
It's about aliens killing people in space.
Yep.
And
Just put her in charge, man.
also, the fun part is that I had not seen Prometheus. The only Alien movie I've seen is Alien, the original. I don't even think I've seen Aliens. Maybe, I don't know. I might have been
You'd
drunk.
remember if you saw it, I think.
I could have been drunk. I've drank a lot since then.
Aliens?
Yes, I haven't seen that. I don't know if I've seen that one.
You don't know if you've seen the first one or
No,
you
I've
haven't
seen the
seen the
first
Bill
one.
Paxton one.
I've seen the first one.
Okay.
I definitely haven't seen the second one if Bill Paxton is in it because I would remember that.
Game over, man.
Because I love Bill
Game
Paxton.
over, man.
dead
This
meat.
little girl lasted a year in here. Well, look great, man. Just put her in charge.
What do you fucking do?
But like, it took me until about halfway through the movie to realize that Prometheus was a prequel to this movie. And
Yeah.
I was like, man, people are really harnessing this whole Prometheus word. Like, they're really
Okay.
gathering around it.
But for
I
all
think
of our
George Lucas messed it up for everybody.
well, okay. But for all of our complaints about Prometheus, and we have complaints because we had to go see the 8 o'clock in the morning press screening with no coffee in 3D, and it's like, this is
Oh, Prometheus.
right. This movie was so slow, and you're trying to explain about these godlike beings and that make no sense, and then you're trying to recapture the magic of an alien movie and a life form getting on board, killing everybody. This movie gave validation for Prometheus because, again, it ties everything together and makes it come full circle. In fact, I look at this movie as being the Rogue One type of. Yeah, okay, I know you're shaking your head, and that's fine. But
I just don't think it needed to exist.
She has not seen all the movies, so she doesn't have all the frame of
But
reference.
I asked
Yeah.
you both,
Opinion.
I asked you all previously,
Okay.
before we started, if in the movies it mentioned anything that we've learned in Alien Covenant, and apparently it doesn't. So I feel like it feels like to me they were like, hey, you know what, we need to make a movie. Let's write off a franchise we already know has done well. But let's just like get really wasted on, like just get wasted. All of the drugs, all of the beer, and come up with an origin story, and that's what this is going to be. And
All right.
that's what it felt like to me.
okay, well, let's take all
Well,
of
they did cast Danny McBride, so
that, which I thought he was great.
he was unbelievably great.
I love Danny McBride in so many ways, but I'll never get past. To me, he is Kenny Powers.
Right.
Okay, I hear you on that.
Right.
Yeah.
But the fact that he does stuff, like this, and was heroic and funny, and not the typical Danny Bride, and that lovable. It's a different role that I loved him in, I guess is what I'm saying.
He was believable. He pulled it
Right.
off. You took him seriously. It wasn't like we were watching. It's like, oh yeah, he's Mr. Powers. Oh, no.
It's also the power of the hat too when he's trying to fly into the storm. You got to have the right hat. I've learned from Hollywood movies, if you don't have the right cool hat, like he had, like a porn star type beach hat, then it doesn't make a difference.
The term, sir, is river hat.
Okay.
But
I'll remember that.
fair enough. Fair enough. Now let me ask you this.
Is Stargate better? Yes.
But
Well-
it's Stargate SG-1, but no.
Yes.
Okay, Stargate is just better than anything, but except Star Wars and Star Trek. However,
It's the third greatest Star show.
It's the third greatest of
if
the-
you, without looking at an alien movie, if this was the only one that you had gone into and seen, without really knowing any of the story, any of the backstory, and dealing with the fact of these explorers settling on a planet, okay, and meeting a synthetic and learning about the aliens, do you hate the movie from that standpoint, the way they told the story?
I don't hate it. It wasn't my favorite. But I think actually a big thing that I struggled with throughout the movie was just trying to figure out what the hell was going on. Because I was like, we start in this stark room with this guy, like, creating a AI or the synthetic, and then we jump to a ship, and then there's a problem with the ship, and I will give it, they did a great job with the spaceship in the movie. I like the things that they made on it. Like, I like the idea of having to recharge things and just the function of the ship. But I still think I would have problems with it because from the trailer, I was expecting to go into a sci-fi horror film, and it was so much more a philosophical drama and I didn't want to think. I wanted the story to be like, this is it. Here's all the action. Here's aliens. We're fighting aliens. We're going to get away and be hunky-dory. And I didn't want the burden of creationism weighing that down. And so, like, while I like the idea of it, and I typically like cerebral movies, like, I loved Ex Machina. I love movies like that.
Sure.
I didn't want that from this film. I wanted summer blockbuster aliens bursting out of people's bodies. And
you wanted Pacific Rim, where there's not any great drama. It's just robots beating up aliens.
It's Godzilla without Godzilla.
Right.
You can still have good drama, but we didn't have to go into a whole, like, what is faith and creation and who is the great creator? And I was like, I just want to watch some aliens get their heads torn off.
Yeah,
I mean,
I like exterminator movie is essentially what I was hoping for.
Yeah, but I feel like
where it's the alien, and now they all have to go kill the rat with rat traps or whatever.
Yeah, but
else.
I feel like
Stockman.
I feel like this movie did deliver that in a lot of ways, because you saw a little bit of the classic aliens, but you also saw this, virus basically shoot up your nose that's going to basically harvest your body, and then something's going to pop out.
Oh yeah, that was scary as hell.
You got all of your nostalgia. I mean, does it match the emotion of the John Hurt moment from the original Alien movie? No, and I don't think anything can. However, to get kind of close to that and to show a different kind of alien that's in the dark, you're out, you're trying to get back to your ship. So you're dealing with that species, and then you also have to deal with the fact of what really happened to, Dr. Swan from Prometheus. And it does explain that. And then you have to deal with the rat traps and all that on the ship as you're trying to get away. I think it delivers that. Does it deliver it the same way in the movies that we love in Alien and Aliens? No. And I don't think anything ever will. It's like the way we argue about Star Wars, that nothing will ever be able to top A New Hope or Empire Strikes Back. All we can ever hope for is to get that same feeling of nostalgia and a good story that's close to it.
But Rogue One felt like it was from the same world.
Okay, fair enough. But
this felt like I stepped in. If I had seen Prometheus and known the Alien Covenant was a sequel to Prometheus, I'd be like on board probably. But then you have like the throwback to something. It didn't throw back to that at all. I mean, the only thing even remotely resembling the original film was kind of what the alien looked like. But even
the
then,
throwback really shouldn't have been to Prometheus as much as it was. Like, I would have liked to have seen some real throwbacks to the original Alien films. Because Weyland, the Weyland Corporation, would consider the little mist that went up the nose and created it. It's a pre-existing condition.
How much time is going on between this chapter and Alien, though? I mean, do we have a timeline?
Isn't it set?
I think they set a timeline to it, but it was just
or something
passed over. It had to have been a certain amount of time.
Isn't it like 50 years before the Alien movie? It's something like that. I mean, it's a huge number, right?
No. He says brother, I've waited all this time. He says a time. Okay. He says a time.
Well, no, it was 10 years between Prometheus and Alien Covenant,
right.
But I thought you were asking.
Yeah.
What's the timeline between?
That's what I mean. You're talking about throwback and having some kind of a tie-in to that movie.
Oh yeah, when Prometheus and this were supposed to be prequels.
When you look at Rogue One and you look at Episode 4, it's literally like right before Episode 4.
Yeah,
so
it's
easier to tie it together in that way.
Yeah.
Like, the difference between Rogue One and this movie is it's something that has already been referenced in the original films. Like, even Episode 1 through 3, I mean, it's the story of Darth Vader. So, like, it's something referenced in the films that people grew up loving forever, right? This came out of nowhere. It was like, hey, here's a ball, let's curve it.
I think there was a compromise they had to take, though, because these films are not on the same level as Star Wars in terms of how prolific they are with people being familiar with them, and the time that's gone on between the original Alien movie and then this one. It's basically like almost 40 years. And so they had to walk a fine line between making something that's good for the fans, but then making something that people can still watch it alone if they're not as familiar with the films.
Well,
and I hadn't seen Prometheus since I saw it in theaters several years ago,
too.
and I didn't feel like that ruined it for me at all.
Well,
So-
but I think you hit the nail on the head earlier by saying, that's the question. Do you have to see Prometheus to understand this movie? And I think you do, because again, it gives Prometheus validation. If you walk into this movie not really knowing what any of the prequels are all about, the only thing you're really going to get out of it is, oh, this seems familiar. Oh, this kind of explains what's going to happen to the, original Alien movie and Aliens. And by the way, we start to see the early glimpses of the Whaling Corporation being evil. And
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I
Not caring
remember
about their
seeing the
points.
trailer for Prometheus and thinking it looked like a cool movie, because I like cerebral, like you have to think about them, films set in sci-fi settings. I enjoy that. I just, because I didn't know Prometheus was a prequel to this, and that's my bad, I didn't look into it at all, but I was like, oh, that makes sense why Michael
Note to the
Fassbender's in
audience, watch Prometheus first.
this. Note to the audience,
too late
do
now.
your research.
I am totally a little off the beaten path for this one, but if anyone's seen Red Oaks, which is a Amazon series, TV show essentially, but from Amazon, that stars Paul Reisner as a president of a country club in the 80s. So they have all these 80s references, and they actually say, well, I saw Aliens this weekend, and it was a really good movie. And he was like, oh, yeah, I saw that. He goes, that corporate guy's a real ass, if you ask me, though.
Nice.
Which is pretty good.
I think if you're going to judge Alien Covenant, you have to look at it as from this perspective. Is this a movie that you can enjoy without knowing anything of these movies? Do you get that sense of horror and action and all that? And for me, you do, but it also took a little too long to get to that point. I mean, it was slow in the beginning.
Well, and it wasn't the aliens that were scary. It was just like the loud noise. It was very much classic, like jumps that you get from like loud noises and things.
It's like the game that we're going through called Prey at that nerd show right now, which came out, May 5th. And that's what lends to the scariness of the shape-shifting aliens on the space station. So that effect is good. But the other thing is, like you said, do you want just the horror aspect of an alien killing everybody and them figuring out how to kill the alien? Or do you want the philosophical side of dealing with creationism? And I'm different from you. I want that. I want that as part of the story, because I don't want to just go see a movie where, oh, well, it's an alien killing everybody and then they're going to have to do it. You had to figure out a way to kill this alien. I don't have a problem with those movies. Those are great summer popcorn movies. But I think what lends to the story of Alien is that philosophical side. And it gives it more of a structure. It gives it more context. Okay, it makes it more well-rounded.
And I didn't have a problem with it being kind of slow and deliberate to start out with, because I thought that was giving us good depth to the characters, because then when it gets to the part where it's getting more active, I found myself really rooting for these characters, because I was more connected with them based on what we had seen them going through for the first 40 minutes or so.
Can we talk about how fast that shit worked in their system, though? It was like, hey, I inhaled this stuff, and like 5 minutes later, I'm dead.
And there's
Pre-existing condition. That's where they're going to be able to fight it.
That's movie magic, okay? Yeah.
It wasn't in the original movie.
Well, and I think that was their horror concept on this one. Is what if it went that route? And this, in many ways, may have been a throw to try to create that new millennial Aliens movie. So you get a new crowd and a new audience with that.
Well, one of the brilliant things of the original Alien movie was the scene where it starts dropping the acid below the decks, and they're trying to find where is it going to finally end, and that's their first.
They're going to make a bulkhead hole.
Right.
That's
It's the big question of, this is their defense mechanism. We don't know anything about it. How do we contain it? And then they have to start figuring out how to get this one thing that at first is small, and then it's going to turn into big. This big monstrosity running around the ship. So it draws you into that And I think at the time, the audiences could accept that because you're still dealing with classic horror techniques.
What is a neutralizing factor for acid like that? Baking soda?
I have no idea.
I
It'd be
just feel like they
hilarious. They're
dropped
running around the ship.
They
The only
dropped
reason-
the wrong kind of acid.
Baking soda. Go look in the freezer.
I only passed science in college because my professors
Maybe
drank at the
Maalox.
bar I worked at and got a free bar tab.
I only passed astronomy.
Magnesium.
I was about to say astrology.
Magnesium.
I only passed astronomy in college because one of my friends did my homework for me, and then
Good to know.
the only other science class I took was sensory physiology of the plant. So that movie, The Happening, that shit could happen.
Wait,
but-
you're actually defending Happening, the bashing Alien Covenant. Oh my
I'm
gosh.
just
Yeah,
saying-
I was about to say, I got a problem with
I'm
that.
not defending that movie. It's a terrible movie. I'm just saying what I learned in my class, sensory physiology of the plant, implies that the movie The Happening is scientifically possible.
I know scientifically possible. When I lived in Austin, there were like every bird downtown died and hit the ground.
Is that
You know-
the same year the crickets came?
You know
I
what
think
was
so.
also
It was
scientifically
nuts.
possible, and apparently George Lucas went around asking the question, you could survive a nuclear blast in a metal fridge by it bouncing 5 miles down the road.
Oh, don't get me started on that.
And when George Lucas
Indiana
asked that,
Jones should never see aliens.
I know.
That's all I'm gonna
All
like.
I'm saying is when George Lucas asked that question, it was a 50-50 shot that could actually happen. And in the movie world, well, if it's a 50-50 shot, unless it's Han Solo actually doing it, I don't really buy it. I'm just saying, those are the rules. At least those are my rules.
I know when I was in the Navy and we were on the flight deck, we asked the air boss one time, so one of the primary flight controls got this really thick glass, right? And he goes, oh yeah, that's supposed to be able to handle a nuclear blast. My only answer was, you go first.
All right, so here's 2 questions I have about this movie as we wrap up our review. Comparing Catherine Watterson, who's the main female protagonist, to Sigourney Weaver, does she measure up in any way?
Much better babysitter than she is the alien fighter.
I first of all, I don't think anybody can ever replace Sigourney Weaver. I don't think you're ever going to truly measure up. But as for bringing someone in that has the chops to get close, yes.
She was all right. Don't get
Yeah.
me wrong. She was really
And I
good.
do definitely like her.
I like how they were like, we need to make sure our main female character has a haircut that people remember. Because like when Sigourney Weaver was in Alien, they were like, her haircut was like a big deal. And now in this one, they were like, we need to give her a haircut that's like,
Butch and
Practical.
Yeah,
quirky, and
yeah.
she's an astronaut. Screw that.
I
Hot
kind
Catherine
of
Watterson.
feel like the short hairdo for the female lead kind of, for me, it started with RoboCop because
Yeah.
when she took off her helmet,
Yeah.
she was supposed to have long
Murphy.
hair cascading down. She just happened to have short hair, and so they just went with it, and it was like such a misdirection. It was perfect. And
I feel like every time we do this show in Dallas, somehow we're going to work in a RoboCop reference because we did it.
Go RoboCop!
We did it like 2 weeks ago, so I think that's going to be our thing.
It's an
I know.
anniversary year,
Well,
so it's
you know,
kinda
the house
perfect,
is
right?
here in Dallas, so
Yes.
somehow, some way, we're going to work in a RoboCop reference.
in case anybody's wondering, just because you made me think of that anniversary year, this is the 17th anniversary of Pay It Forward.
Wow.
It came out in year 2000. I
That's
learned that today at
All
work.
right, so my
Unbelievable.
last question before we rate this
Hey,
movie.
Haley Joel Osment should have paid forward some of that bud he was getting down there when he was. That's what
Would
I'm
this movie have
We
been
saw him
better
in
or
Tusk.
worse with Haley Joel Osment in it?
That's another question.
Yeah,
That's-
yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
What if he was the alien?
What if he was the older, fat Haley Joel Osment from Entourage?
Oh my God.
I like that one
I
better,
could do
believe it or
that.
not. The
Do
school
you-
teacher one with the sex ed.
Do you feel like, because they keep talking about they want to make more with, of these prequel movies. Do you feel like that they should make like 2 or 3 more? I feel like maybe 1 more and you're done. But even then, I don't need 1 more.
I feel like I have found the movies that I want to have prequels and sequels. I have them, like Star Wars.
You have your own list?
Yeah, I mean,
It's in your
there's
sock drawer?
Yeah, it's probably on my fridge.
Hold on, I'm
Wow.
Things like things like
our whole
Star
chest,
Wars
come on.
and Frozen. I would like to see those sequels. Don't judge me. I like Frozen. I have a niece or 2. I have 2. It's fine.
We have nothing against Disney.
Those are things I want to see sequels for, right? Like I want to continue.
Don't mess
seeing
with the mouse.
Marvel movies. I want to see that expand. I don't need to see any more Alien movies. I would like to see something new. Like, I think we're just so to the point now where everybody's like, hey, let's recycle.
So we don't need any
ideas.
more of these alien movies. We've done enough, is what you're saying?
Yeah, but like, I would be fine with a new Alien, like the Alien for 2017, but it was like a new premise.
Wasn't there
You know-
a really good movie called like Apollo 14 or 15?
Apollo 18, where they're
Where they go and
yeah.
encounter aliens?
It's all
on the
right.
moon?
What about you guys? Should there be any more in this little prequel series
Well,
that they're doing?
here's the thing. I want to get this quote in there because I thought it was brilliant. Okay, maybe not. There hasn't been an original story idea since Fellini's 8.5. That's what they said in adaptation. Okay, but
I mean, yeah, there hasn't been much since the Greeks, but you take the base and then you shape it into something.
It's
You
clay.
put your
You
own
mold
spin
it.
on it.
yeah.
Okay.
Artistic
I
license.
feel like there needs to be one more in this prequel trilogy, if you will.
I want my aliens from Alien. That's where they're screwing it up.
Okay, so one more for you.
I'd be fine with that.
Dan, 1, 2, 3 more.
You gotta find a new Bill Paxton, man.
Thanks
Gotta
a lot.
find a new Bill
Good
Paxton. You gotta
What about-
bring it all back.
Taron Egan from Kingsman. I feel like he's funny enough. He could pull it off.
You
maybe.
first need to say Aliens 2 before we have this
Yeah,
conversation.
that,
But I
we're on
understand who Bill
That's our
Paxton-
mission to civilize
No.
you, is to get you to see
You
the
say
No.
Bill Paxton,
Okay.
and I
And
can
Prometheus.
picture him.
Right.
No.
Aliens and
you
Prometheus.
All right,
have to
everybody,
know.
with that said, we do have to rate this movie,
Okay.
and so we can move on to
This
talk
ought
about other
to,
movies.
this ought to be interesting.
I personally am going to give this movie an 8 out of 10. It's not perfect. It is a little slow in the beginning, but it is a good movie. I would have definitely paid a full price movie ticket to watch it. It's good. It's an 8 out of 10 with me.
I'll go 50-50. I'll give it a 5 out of 10. Because we haven't talked
She's
about
already
this.
come up from a 3.
Yeah, I
That's
did
true.
come up.
Originally, yeah, you were at a 3.
You've
Okay.
convinced me about it, but I still, we didn't talk about the CGI, but I can't get over the part where that little tiny alien like unfolds and he's like, hello, Papa, and it's like so weird and creepy, and I just couldn't, it was like, it felt weird to me. So, because of the pacing, because I felt like it was bogged down by a lot of things, and
much
because
story.
of the weird, hello, Papa, I give it a 5 out of 10.
Okay. How about you, Dan?
I'd give Prometheus a 5 out of 10, but I think this wasn't nearly as bad. It had a lot of good moments toward it, but I would still say like a 7 out of 10. But I think there's a better film in the cut somewhere. I saw a lot of extra footage that disappeared when I saw the film, and I feel like there might still be a better film in the cut.
Okay. And Alex? I'm always more generous on our show, so I'm expecting like a lower number here.
No, I'm actually going to go ahead and give it an 8.
Really? We agree on something?
Yeah, for once.
Wow.
Somebody write it down, put it in a
There
box.
is now a record.
We'll open it in 20 years.
Okay.
No, I mean, I have to go by what's been coming out so far this year, and I still think the best movie I've seen is Split, and that was a movie I was willing to give a 9. And, you know, when I saw The Promise a few weeks ago, I know it's getting kind of mixed reviews. There's a lot of controversy around why it's getting mixed reviews, but I gave that an 8. And I thought, you know what? I think this movie was every bit as good as The Promise in terms of what I got out of it, emotional content, great action, connecting with the characters. So I think 8 is fair for this movie for me.
Okay. And with that said, we're going to be right back and talk about some other movies.
It's after 10 o'clock. You know what that means?
It's late night at Old Chicago.
PBRs,
$2.
craft beers, $3. Margaritas,
$4.
top shelf, you call it $5. And it gets even better. All right size appetizers, just $2. Wings, pepperoni rolls, and more, just $2. What more do you need? Old Chicago, the right way to late night.
Welcome back, everybody. And for the second movie that we're going to talk about tonight, King Arthur, Legend of the Sword, starring Charlie Hunnam. And I'm going to start off by saying I was really confused. I didn't know if they were trying to make a King Arthur story or Guy Ritchie was going back to his roots and trying to make a movie about gangs, kind of like Long Shot 2, you know, Long Shot and Two Smoking Barrels.
I don't want to go too far out on a limb here, but
Okay.
this is the greatest David Beckham movie I've ever seen.
Yes, 100%.
Wow.
If this doesn't get David Beckham some kind of award.
Wait a minute.
Nothing
Wait a
will.
minute. Even better than Gold 2, where it shows him in the locker room playing for Real Madrid as himself.
Even better than Bend It
Because-
Like
Nope.
Beckham.
No. Which he would not be in, and it's a double.
Yeah, I know.
I do think that was the kind of the funniest part of the movie is, oh wow, that's David Beckham and he's a guard. Okay.
I think it was like the cameos really were halfway decent because unlike normal cameos in a film like this that you don't find out until it was somebody until after.
You mean like Daniel Craig as a stormtrooper in The Force Awakens?
Yeah, and like in this one,
Right.
you pretty much knew everybody was, you saw Guy Ritchie, you saw
Right.
David Beckham, you saw, I'm sure there were 2 or 3 others that I don't know.
Now, I just want to go ahead and say we do not have enough time to talk about how many things this movie got wrong in Arthurian Legends.
Okay.
But
Does that really matter, though? So,
okay, so that's where I started. So we
Okay.
started,
It was a
and
blast.
it was Uther was fighting Mordred, and I was like, hold the front door.
Yeah.
This is not how this shakes out. And then I was
Yeah.
like, Uther has a brother, and he's bad too, and he's in cahoots with
A brother named Merlin.
What's his brother's name?
Was it his brother named
No, it was
Merlin?
something long that I can't
No.
pronounce.
No, okay.
It was
No,
like,
but I got I got
It was like
confused on that
Orkendock or
too.
something.
Yeah.
I want to say this though,
It
everybody,
was Redenbacher. I don't know.
it was a
Redenbacher.
lot of fun. It was not all the, yes, it got a lot of the legend
Wrong.
totally off and wrong. But this is the greatest movie I've ever seen show us the power of Excalibur.
Yes.
Most of the
Really?
time in movies, it's, oh, they got the sword and then they just can't be beat.
I mean,
But
and
they're
that's hard.
fighting the same as everybody else.
It's hard, and it's hard to have any King Arthur movie that has anything that tops Mordred's gold armor in Excalibur. However, I think that you're right. I think the power, like showing the power of the sword, because in the legend you hear, oh, the sword is so important, but you don't, like, outside of the sword and the stone, like, do you really even see how important it is?
Well, all right. See, but I'm going to give you a counter argument on that. Yes, I agree with you. You actually saw the full power of the sword, okay, which makes, the sword more important than the man. I have a lot of problems with this movie. Probably my favorite King Arthur story, outside of the Sean Connery First Night, because that's just fun. It doesn't have to be serious, but it's just a lot of fun, and it's Sean Connery. It's actually one of the better Richard Gere movies that's out there. But I like the Clive Owen King Arthur because it's actually a little bit more historical, what could have been historically accurate. But here's the thing about when they talk about Excalibur in that movie, they don't talk about it as it's a powerful sword. It's a legendary sword because of the man and all the battles that he, had fought in and what he had done and stuff like that. It's about the man who controls the sword that gives the sword its legend. And I think that's a lot better than, oh, here's a magic sword. It came out of the lake with a lady, and I understand that's part of the legend, but I always revert back to Monty Python.
Hell
and the
no,
Holy Grail.
magic, man.
Look, ladies pulling
Bloody
swords out is
magic.
no basis for systems of government.
So one of the things, like, because my friends that I went and watched it with were sitting next to me, and I was like, okay, I kind of hate and love this movie, and that was about 10 minutes in. And then, like, 15 minutes later, I was like, this is the best fucking movie I've ever seen. And then about 15 minutes later, I was like, okay, maybe not the best, but it's pretty good, but, like, in a bad way, like, it's a bad good. And so, like, by the end of the movie, I was like, this is a better movie than Gods of Egypt. However, I would not mind watching both of them in the same night. Does that make any... Because
that does make a little bit of sense to me.
It didn't take... Well, I think Guy Ritchie took this movie seriously. I don't think anybody else who was in it took it seriously.
That's a fair assessment.
And
I'm pretty sure that the studio took it pretty seriously.
Yes. But, like, the people in it, like, Charlie Adam was not like, I'm the best movie ever made. And then, but that's the same thing I love about Gods of Egypt, is it's a truly terrible movie, but every single person in the movie knows how bad it is. They're like, okay, we're making this campy, stupid movie where I'm a giant god with armor things.
Shut up, I'm getting paid.
So I feel like I would watch them both in the same movie marathon, and I feel like the cast at least of, except for maybe the maid, she seemed to be taking herself a little seriously.
The
Somebody has
genius
to.
part of me, though, was the very beginning, where the way that it was a Guy Ritchie film right off the bat.
Yeah.
Where they're like, it's Pete. Pete who? Fat Pete or Skinny Pete
That
with the scar.
whole scene,
like that stuff.
right? That scene is
loved
the
it.
best part of the movie.
That is the
And-
best scene in the movie.
Right.
And I literally felt like back in the surf and medieval days, they're probably pretty close to the way people would have talked.
Well, that
Right,
scene, and then later he's like, "Here's how this is gonna happen," and
Yeah.
he's like, "You're gonna do this, and I'm gonna do," and I like that kind of style of scene.
Yeah.
It was a fun movie. Like, is it technically the best movie ever made? No.
No.
But do I feel like I wasted my time? No. Would I watch it again? Yes.
Yeah.
I wouldn't pay to go see it again. I think there's a lot of fun moments in the movie itself. I think Charlie Hunnam makes a great King Arthur, and I think he should be extremely happy that he's in a movie where he has his natural English accent.
Mm-hmm.
I was at trivia last night, and somebody was like, called on, the answer was Charlie Hunnam, but he called it out and was like, "Yeah, he held his accent longer than somebody else," and I was like, "That's because he's actually British, dude." Have you never heard of Internet Movie Database? Like, get on that.
Well,
I had to correct two or three
not.
people who were huge Sons of Anarchy fan and had no idea he was really British.
it's like you've never seen his interviews where he is actually talking in his real accent.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you look at a movie based on the cast was awesome.
Oh yeah.
Maybe not so much Jude Law. I thought he was. Whoa!
Like, you stay off David Beckham, Betty.
No. I think we all agree at this table. Take David Beckham, award-winning actor in this movie.
Yeah.
Awesome in this movie.
He did.
Also, Littlefinger was really good too.
But that's what I'm saying. And
I
by
don't
the
know
way, I
exactly
love
that.
how when we were first discussing this, like right after you had saw it, I like how you kept referring to him to Littlefinger because you automatically know. I know who you're talking about. We don't really need to know the actor's real
Yeah.
name. We know it's like Peter Dinklage. You know.
Dinklage.
I still get his name wrong.
Exactly.
I did that like 2 weeks ago.
Dorklage?
Yeah.
Dinklage. Peter
We should
Dinklage.
literally just call him Tyrion
It
Lannister.
still sounds like a great porno. actor.
No.
Right.
Everyone who is a fan of his from Tyrion Lannister should see The Station Agent. With
Oh,
that guy.
I
You should
absolutely
see that
agree with
even
that.
if you're not a fan. It's a great movie.
Right,
Anyway,
I absolutely
so,
agree. But my point is, even if the movie's not great, you put together one hell of a great cast that really made this movie on all levels. And I do disagree with you a little bit that you were texting me about, the girl who was just kind of stale and didn't really smile. I'm like,
She had moments where she
I
was
liked
good,
her.
but the mage to me felt a little flat in pieces. And I don't know if it was just like her natural speaking pattern or not, but something about it felt very forced. But there were parts when she wasn't speaking. I feel like she's a good actor, but I think there was something lost in her dialogue.
So
somewhere.
she's a silent film actor.
I love this because I saw the movie and have no idea who you're talking about. So I would say that her
She's the
performance
only
was.
female.
She was
I know, and I
understated.
can't remember her. So
Understated.
Well,
I can't even
I think when we look at King Arthur movies, I mean, the biggest problem is it always comes down to what kind of a story you want to tell. I mean, yes, it's a legendary story. Do you want to be more historically accurate?
No.
Do you want this really over the top, campy, greatness legend like Excalibur? Which I did watch that over the
Magic
weekend.
is not historically accurate, you muggle.
Right.
Or is it?
But again, it's about how you're telling a story. And my thing with Guy Ritchie is, as much as I like Guy Ritchie, I just don't think he was. I don't want his style in an Earth Indian story, and that's just me personally.
Well, I like the Clive Owen King Arthur because I'm a history nerd,
Sure.
so I love that it is historically accurate. I like all that jazz. Great.
Yeah.
But like the best King Arthur movie for me will always be Sword in the Stone because it's one of my favorite Disney movies, and also it's just a really good movie.
All of y'all need to see the original Camelot with Helen Mirren.
Oh, I've seen it.
Yeah.
19-year-old Helen Mirren,
It's
just so
great.
you can go, oh my God, you were gorgeous.
Also,
Still gorgeous, but
It's
she
a musical.
was stunning back
Well, she was
then.
stunning in
She was a
Excalibur.
model, yeah.
Yeah. So.
it's a musical. You think I haven't seen it?
Yeah, that's true.
Also, I like Excalibur. There's another one that's like Miss of Avalon. I like that movie.
I've seen
Angelica
that.
Houston.
Yeah.
Look, if it has King Arthur in it, I've probably seen
Well,
it.
you
I
know,
don't know why.
I thought the Camelot series on Stars that only lasted one
Great.
season was really great, except the actor who played King Arthur.
Jamie Campbell Bower.
He
from
was
Harry
the
Potter.
worst one, right? But
There has to be a worse one.
He was really good.
You know,
at
but
Sweeney
I
Todd.
really enjoyed the hell out of Merlin, the
It was
TV
a good show.
okay, yeah, exactly. It's about how you tell the story and what really
Yeah.
works for you. And I'll watch this again. I'll watch it for the cast because it was fun.
Can
Even
we
though
talk
and I'm
about?
trying to
Can we talk about how Katie McGrath was in this and
Yeah.
also in Camelot?
Or
in Merlin.
in Merlin,
Right.
in Merlin,
That's
and
no
she's
coincidence.
absolutely beautiful.
So,
But
She was also in a made-for-TV Christmas movie called A Princess for Christmas, starring herself, obviously,
well, we'll forgive her.
and Sam Heughan from Outlander.
Nice.
You're welcome.
So, with that said, how would you rate the movie, Michelle? We're going to start with you.
I'd probably go like 7 out of 10 because as sheer enjoyment, I enjoyed it, and like that's typically what I base everything on. But I think there was also a lot of like. There were a lot of technical things I liked about it too. I liked the stylizing of it. It took me a hot minute to get over the fact that it was taking the King Arthur legend and going, hey, let's throw this in a salad bowl and toss it around and then throw it on some plates. But I think once I got past that and started to watch it for the story it was telling, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really fun. I thought there was a good balance of humor. Like, I mean, there's a giant snake in the middle of it. Like, it wasn't
Right.
a serious
Yeah.
film.
Dan, how about you?
I loved it. I'm still waiting for that true blockbuster to grab us this summer, and I don't think anything's. It to me came closer in the fun explosion category than many other things. So I'd probably say 8.
Okay.
Transformers is coming out soon.
Well, we're not talking about
Let's not
that.
talk about
No,
that.
I don't. Yeah, we don't know. I don't know how I feel about that, but we'll get
not
to
for
it.
some
Yeah.
time.
I'm going to give it a 6. And again, it really is a little bit of my bias of I don't want Guy Ritchie doing an Arthurian story. I'll watch anything that you do. I just didn't think this wasn't your bag. No matter, despite the great cast, I'll watch part of it again. There's a lot of great action scenes, but at the end of the day, it's just a 6 out of 10 for me. It's adequate, but I wouldn't have ever paid to go see it. But if it's on cable for free, yeah, I'll do a little work and watch it again.
Oh yeah, I would definitely.
So, all right, we'll be back in a moment.
At AMC Dine-In Theaters, we're mixing up the way you see movies. Kick back in our extra comfy seats. And when you're ready to order, press the button and your server will appear. It's just like magic, only better. Mouth-watering appetizers, entrees, and desserts are prepared fresh when you order them. Friendly servers bring it all to your seat, so you can enjoy the show with a side of something delicious. It's a movie theater and restaurant rolled into one. Go check it out at a theater near you.
Welcome back. For the final movie of this evening, we wanted to talk about yet another boxing movie because it seems like there's been a lot of boxing movies over the past few years. Now, Alex and I from That Nerd Show, we've taken upon ourselves to pretty much see every boxing movie together because we're boxing enthusiasts, and our all-time favorite game on the PS3 is Fight Night Round 4. So, and he still owes me a rematch at my party about that. Maybe you'll win this time.
You owe me a rematch.
Oh, okay.
Because I lost.
So before y'all jump into the movie, how many times do y'all play Sock and Bop'em? What was the game? You know the game? The boxing game?
From the 80s?
Rock'em Sock'em
Rock'em.
Robots.
There we go.
Oh, wow.
Whatever.
That'd take me back a bit, but yeah.
Yeah, that would take that's
I'm
don't
with
know
them.
anything of
Fight
the
Night
name.
is amazing, or if you're going to go back and you do
Mike
Mike
Tyson's
Tyson's
Punch-Out.
knockout or punch out,
Punch-Out.
yeah.
Right, yeah. But there's a lot of great classic boxing games, and I think that lends to why we are fans of the sport, and again, why we go and see these movies and love to review them. So the one that we saw a couple weeks ago, about a couple weeks ago, was the movie Chuck, which is actually based on the true story of Chuck Wepner, who, for everybody that knows, is the real life inspiration for Rocky. And maybe most people don't realize who Chuck Wepner was or know much about his life. If you're a sports enthusiast, you might have seen the 30 for 30 about him. But they finally made a Hollywood movie starring Liv Schreiber and, of course, his wife, Naomi Watts. And I am not saying that it's one of the best boxing movies that I've ever seen. However, for a boxing movie based off like a real life character and somebody that we do know because of him inspiring a character that we all love in Hollywood, I thought the movie was pretty good. And I love Liv Schreiber and pretty much anything that he does. And I don't think there was anybody better to play Chuck Wepner in a movie than him.
Well, and I think that he had to have been a big fan, or at least somewhat of a fan, because he was one of the producers of this film, and so he was putting his money where his mouth was, really, because he really put himself into that role, not just with the character and playing the actor, but the money as well, and backing the film for himself. So, but I think with boxing films, the bar's been set really high, because Rocky was kind of the sports film that sort of reinvented the sports film genre, and so boxing films are kind of in a category of their own versus other sports films since 1976. And so because there have been so many of them, and most of them, there aren't a lot of bad ones. I mean, there have been some, but most of them are pretty good. And so this one's no different. And I would say it's not quite as good as some of the ones we've seen in the last year, but certainly better than some of the...
Well, if Rocky has taught us anything for a boxing movie, it is about your choreography. It's the action in the ring. Because that movie really did change how you shoot a boxing movie, and really getting the choreography down and stuff. So when you do a movie based off the real life, character who was pretty much just a brawler, didn't really have a whole lot of talent.
Bleeder.
Exactly. And, who got to fight the heavyweight champ, Muhammad Ali, and did go almost the distance with that fight, even to the point of knocking Muhammad Ali down. Despite whatever controversy they go, I still believe.
Did that remind you of The Fighter, where they were debating whether his brother really knocked Sugar Ray down?
Right.
I mean, it's kind of the same thing.
It's a nice, great little throwback,
right.
And also a great boxing movie. But
to me, it doesn't quite measure up to that, but it's
right.
I mean,
I just thought that it's so hard to tell like a biographical movie and get it right. And outside of Rocky, my favorite boxing movie is always going to be Cinderella Man. Okay.
I was just about to ask,
that.
Where is it on the scale of Cinderella?
Oh, me, it's like right up there below
Cinderella
Rocky.
Man to me will always be
one
of the greatest.
Right,
and I get such a different approach because it takes place in the 30s and it just almost has this kind of mystical, almost magical.
And
it's
almost felt like a historical film.
I'm not saying that's wrong, but it's
whereas you look at Chuck, it's a biographical movie. You're telling a true story. All the dirty, side of that story. You're getting down in the gutter, and you're showing that as mythical and that as he might have been, being the inspiration for Rocky, he wasn't the greatest of guys. Yes, he might have loved his kid, but he played around. He did serve 2 years in jail for selling drugs. And then, of course, there were disputes with Stallone over how much, he didn't get from Rocky. But I thought it did a really great job of, diving into that mystique and how much of that local hero he really was, and then him getting his title shot. And then again, getting to the casting. Not only is Liv Schreiber great, and again, I don't see anybody else that could have played Chuck Wepner. You've got Ron Perlman playing the trainer, which he was great. And I mean, just the oddest of characters, but Jim Gaffigan playing his best friend, who's not exactly a great guy, not the lovable, fun dad, but I play around and do drugs too, and yada, yada, yada.
And you've got the sort of, the guy, his brother who's kind of distant but still cares about him, played by Michael Rappaport.
I know.
He's just one of those guys who always just, whatever scene he's in, you remember
he's always got that great screen presence.
Yeah, great screen presence.
I still think documentaries are better when telling a story about our sports heroes or anybody. But if you're going to make a Hollywood movie and you're going to tell everything, the highs and the lows, I thought they did a fairly great job with this.
And I think one of the challenges here, and what makes it a little bit different from these other boxing stories, is that he didn't win.
Right.
When you look at The Fighter, when you look at Rocky, you go to Rocky 2, he does win.
Right.
I mean, Rocky 1, he didn't win. It was kind of a little bit ambiguous.
The new Miles Teller movie where he broke his neck and
bleed for this.
Right.
Yeah.
But he goes on to win, and he won at the beginning.
I was saying another that recently.
It was a great film.
I feel like Hilary Swank lost a few rounds in $1 Million Baby.
I mean, it's not a true story, but yeah, that's an excellent boxing movie. I'd put that right up there at the top.
Yeah,
obviously.
$1 Million Baby is definitely one.
And that's one that needs to be remembered more because it did come out in 2004 and did win Best Picture. And
put Jay Baruchel on the map, really. people, I don't think they had him pigeonholed in many ways into characterizations. And
well, one thing about Chuck, when you're watching this movie, I mean, it's a little awkward and kind of funny when he's celebrating, you know, hey, we won the Oscars, like he personally did because Rocky won his place. Right. But did you not want to go home and watch Rocky again after you saw that movie? I did, and I did. I admit that I did.
I watched Rocky 4.
Well,
I would say
if you're gonna watch Rocky,
any great fighting movie as a whole would make most people our age want to go see Rocky again.
Yeah.
This is why I'm glad I'm younger than y'all.
Because Rocky is
no, I like Rocky, but like I can watch a good fighting movie and not immediately want to go watch Rocky. I love Rocky. Don't get me wrong.
I'm still waiting for the good MMA movie because I've become a big MMA fan.
Dan,
I'm not so much of a fan.
It was called
Here
Warrior.
Comes the Boom.
It was which is basically Rocky for MMA.
I saw Warrior. Yeah.
The one thing that I will also say about Chuck that I think is its strong suit is how good Naomi Watts is in there as playing his wife Linda and how they met and their on-screen chemistry.
I think even his wife, who he eventually splits up with as well, from Madden.
Right.
Sorry, lost her name.
The actress,
Yes, but
Naomi Watts.
What?
No, the actress from Mad Men. She was also on The West Wing.
Christina Hendricks.
No.
Elizabeth.
Yes.
Elizabeth.
Yes.
Elizabeth Moss.
Thank you.
Moss.
Handmaid's Tale.
Yes.
Which is a great show.
Right.
Side plug. All women watch it.
But anyway, they all
Netflix.
Yes.
And I think that added to it.
Hulu.
Now,
but it all comes down to Schreiber because he's 85% of the film, and so they all bounce off of him well. Nobody stole any scenes from him. He carried the film the way he needed to, and I think it's an acceptable film for what it is.
So
Absolutely.
there was no Marissa Tomei in this movie.
No. Sorry about that.
She did steal that movie though. The fighter. I mean, she's a big piece of it.
Marissa Tomei.
Are we talking about The Wrestler?
The Wrestler.
Yeah.
That's a good movie too. All right. For me, I'm probably going to be a little generous. It's an 8 for me, just on the cast alone. I don't know if I would pay a full price movie ticket to go see this movie, but I would definitely see a matinee of it. I do think the ESPN film's better at telling the story of Chuck Wepner, but for performance alone, for physicality and everything, and again, being the inspiration for one of the greatest boxing movies ever, it's an 8 out of 10 for me.
I gave it a 7 officially. I'm sticking to that. I'm giving it a 7. I think Bleed for This was the film I gave an 8 last year, and I gave Hands of Stone a 7. And to me, I think it is right there on the same level.
Well,
as
if you want that mythical boxing movie, the Rocky story is always better than Chuck Wepner's real life story. But
that's what's so ironic about this is they put that Rocky quote kind of at the beginning of the movie, and we're looking at the movie about the guy that inspired that, and yet we're starting out with the Rocky, and it's like people remember Chuck for being like, oh, that's what Rocky was about. Like Chuck is Rocky, but no, Rocky was Chuck.
Thank you for watching the Movie Roundtable. And if you take a trip down to Old Chicago, try the Chicago 7 pizza or the Tuscan pizza, which is what we had tonight. Have a good night and have fun at the movies. Cheers.
Cheers.